We have supported the concept of Apollo for 4 years, for most of the time that it's been in existence, but found a need to get the coalition going a couple years ago when our state began to explore the idea of renewable energy. And we needed a vehicle for bringing labor together with other groups that were interested in that issue, the environmentalists, who were much better organized around the policy issues, and businesses in the community. So we used Apollo as a way to pull labor into that discussion and debate, and as a way to engage our affiliates in the legislative session that started in January of '07. The Apollo Alliance brought labor into the debate. The environmentalists in Oregon have been organized for a long time and have been lobbying on these kinds of issues for a long time, and labor every once in a while would step up and say, we kind of like that idea. But the Apollo Alliance gave us a vehicle for owning more of the policy debate, I guess. So we got people to the table that had never testified on any kind of energy legislation at all, or much less any environmental legislation, saying, okay, well, we're going to go and testify on behalf of this renewable portfolio standard because we think it will create jobs in our manufacturing sector. And so the State Building Trades Council, for example, became heavily involved and actively involved. We had the State County Municipal Employees Union, whose members actually work in offices of sustainability around the state, and they staff the Department of Environmental Quality and so on. They got involved in Oregon Apollo, and through that in testifying on these bills. We have had less success with our manufacturing unions, but they're coming along. We're trying to pull them into the coalition and get them more engaged. They're pretty worried. I think of all of our affiliates, probably the most worried about the impact of this work on their jobs in a negative sense. The pulp and paper industry is one example. We have a huge pulp and paper industry in the state that has been gradually shrinking as the plants have shut down because of, I think mostly because of foreign trade. They like to blame it on the tree huggers, as they say. So they're worried. When we start getting into coalition with environmentalists, they worry about what's going to happen to their jobs because they're so insecure in their jobs anyway. And we can argue, really, most of your job loss has nothing to do with environmental regulations at all. But if a few people have been laid off and the company blames it on, Clean Water Act or something, that's easier for them to understand than trade with China or something more complicated or technical. So it's been hard to keep our manufacturing unions engaged, and that's one of the biggest things I spend time on, is talking with them about how all this works. And one of the reasons the Apollo Alliance has been so valuable is that I can say to them, this is a national issue. There are people in states all over this country that are wrestling with the notion of how can we create jobs and protect the ones we have. They're all engaged in the Apollo Alliance. Come to the table, talk to the environmentalists, tell them what your concerns are. Let's see if together we can craft a strategy to do both things at once, to create jobs and protect your existing ones. So, and it's become my mantra, you can't have any impact on this unless you're at the table, in discussions with the people who are going to be advocates, and at the other tables with the people who are actually making the policies.